So this time we're looking at the last of my figures from the Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring, and that would be Saruman the White, played by the great Christopher Lee, star of many Hammer films from the 70s and 60s. A common theme with these figures is the level of detail that they sculpted into the figures, and the way they had sort of layered clothing. So you had jackets on top of vests, or jackets on top of robes, on top of pants and stuff. And this figure is another example of that. Great details on the hair, beard, and face. Really good job, I think, of capturing Christopher Lee's likeness. Details on the edge of the robe, his little belt or tie here, the clasps on his undershirt there, detailings on the belt, different kind of fabric here on the sleeves of his robe, and they've actually sculpted it so you can tell that, as well as they've given this kind of shiny gloss paint. You see on the back here, I'll lift up his hair, see the design on his robe, the lever for the gimmick, and you see the end of his robe, and you get his little tights back there. Yeah. Then the paint job, again, it's very nice for having such small and intricate details. There are a few spots where they, like for instance down here, it's hard to get those painted just right. So I think they did a very good job. Now for his accessories, he's got his staff. All magicians need a staff. It is kind of hard to get in and out of his hand. Here you can see his other accessory is this great pedestal which holds the Palantir, the seeing stone, which allows people to converse with or communicate with other holders of the Palantir, and that's how he's able to communicate with the evil Sauron. This has its own little gimmick. Unfortunately, I think it's kind of busted. I think there's two magnets that were in this ball, and there's a magnet here and a magnet here, as well as a magnet underneath there. And you used to be able, if you set it up just right, the ball would seem to hover. There we go. It works now. So you kind of get the effect that it's floating there in midair. And that magnet gimmick also comes into the figure. If you can notice, he has a little magnet in the palm of his hand, which he can use to grasp onto the Palantir and hold it very ominously, like he's going to try and pick up that spare. Let's put the Palantir aside, and we'll go back to his other gimmick, which is the lever, and he has like a battling staff attack where he raises his arm, and yeah, that's kind of lame. Again, kind of limited by the gimmick here. You can move it back and forth a little bit. You see where you can hear it clicking in there. The arm does move in and out quite nicely. He bends at the elbow and rotates at the wrist. His other arm is totally free of that gimmick restriction, so that moves nicely in and out and bends at the elbow as well as rotates at the wrist. He does have some waist articulation right there. His legs do go forward and back. It's hard to tell underneath all this, all the robes, but they do go forward and back, as well as bend at the knee. His ankles are fixed though, and that's to help him stand. Even with the gimmick, with his arm gimmick, it doesn't detract from the figure at all, and that's a key point when you have gimmicks. You don't want them to just totally ruin the rest of the figure. At least I don't. Saruman was one of the Istari, or the Wise, the spirits who were given mortal bodies and were told to help the inhabitants of Middle-earth to fight the evil spirits of Melkor or Morgoth and his servant Sauron. Saruman dedicated himself to learning all about the knowledge that elves and men have gathered. It's really through that investigation of Sauron and his dealings with men that he becomes convinced that there's really no hope for anybody to beat him. So you might as well join him, and that's why he turns sides. And even though he's supposedly the leader of the White Council, and Saruman the White, the best of all the wizards or Istari, it's sort of that old adage, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. He has every intention of being subservient to Sauron at first, but then he starts to have aspirations of his own. He builds the army of the new orcs that don't fear the sunlight, can travel in day, and are stronger, better warriors. And he, kind of starts to think, well, maybe, hey, if I get a hold of the ring, I can be the guy in charge. And so, it's not really, he doesn't really come out and say it, but you get what that's what he's thinking.